Sunny Deol's screen persona has long been inseparable from thunderous patriotism, clenched fists, and an unshakable sense of moral certainty. Over the decades, a curious pattern has emerged in the way audiences perceive his war-centric films, especially those evoking the legacy of the 1971 Indo-Pak War. Taken together, these roles form what fans jokingly and affectionately call Sunny Deol's 1971 War Multiverse, a cinematic universe where the same indomitable spirit seems to reappear across timelines, uniforms, and narratives, defeating Pakistan again and again, almost always with a turban crowning his head. This idea is not about literal continuity, but about how popular memory stitches together characters, symbols, and emotions into a single mythic arc. The real 1971 war occupies a unique place in South Asian history. It was not just a military conflict between India and Pakistan, but a geopolitical rupture that led to the birth of Bangladesh and reshaped the region's power balance. For India, the war became a defining moment of national pride, sacrifice, and strategic success. In popular culture, particularly Hindi cinema, this victory has been revisited repeatedly, not always directly, but through stories that echo its themes of courage, endurance, and moral righteousness. Sunny Deol, more than any other mainstream Hindi film star, came to embody this cinematic remembrance. From early in his career, Sunny Deol's physicality and intensity marked him out as a natural fit for roles involving confrontation and duty. Unlike suave romantic heroes or ironic anti-heroes, his screen presence was raw, grounded, and explosive. When he shouted, the earth seemed to shake. When he stood his ground, retreat felt impossible. This made him an ideal vessel for stories about borders, soldiers, and national defense. Over time, the audience stopped seeing separate characters and began seeing a singular archetype. Sunny Deol is the eternal defender of the nation. The turban plays a crucial role in this archetype. As a visible marker of Sikh identity, the turban carries connotations of bravery, discipline, faith, and sacrifice. In Indian cultural memory, Sikh soldiers have long been associated with valor on the battlefield, from colonial wars to post-independence conflicts. When Sunny Deol dons a turban on screen, he is not just wearing a costume, he is tapping into a deep reservoir of symbolic meaning. The turban transforms him from a generic action hero into a moral warrior, one whose strength is rooted as much in ethics as in muscle. In films inspired by border conflicts, Sunny Deol often plays characters who are outnumbered, under-resourced, and facing seemingly impossible odds. The enemy, frequently coded as Pakistani forces, appears stronger on paper, with superior numbers or weaponry. Yet the narrative almost invariably bends toward Sunny Deol's character prevailing through sheer willpower, tactical brilliance, and emotional resolve. This repeated structure is what fuels the idea of beating Pakistan thrice, not as a literal count of victories but as a recurring cinematic experience. One film might place him as a border security officer holding a lonely outpost in the desert, another as a soldier leading a desperate defense, and yet another as a man whose personal story becomes inseparable from national conflict. Different names, different settings, different plots, but the emotional endpoint is the same. Sunny Deol stands tall at the end, battered but victorious, the tricolor fluttering somewhere nearby, the enemy pushed back. In the collective imagination, these endings blur together into a single triumphant refrain. The Multiverse label gained traction in the age of social media, where fans began comparing scenes from different Sunny Deol war films and joking that he exists across multiple timelines, always arriving at the border just in time to change the course of history. Memes juxtapose images of him in different uniforms, all wearing turbans, all shouting defiant lines, all facing Pakistani adversaries. The humor works because it is rooted in truth. Sunny Deol's screen image is remarkably consistent, and audiences love him for it. This consistency also reflects the expectations placed on mainstream Hindi cinema heroes. Unlike art house films that explore ambiguity and moral gray zones, big-budget patriotic films often thrive on clarity. There is a clear hero, a clear enemy, and a clear moral outcome. Sunny Deol's persona fits perfectly into this framework. His characters rarely doubt the righteousness of their cause. Their conflicts are external, not internal. The question is not whether they should fight, but how far they are willing to go. Critics have sometimes pointed out that such portrayals simplify complex geopolitical realities. Real wars are messy, tragic, and morally complicated, while films reduce them to emotionally satisfying narratives of good versus evil. Yet for many viewers, these films are not meant to be documentaries.
They function as emotional rituals, reaffirming collective identity and honoring sacrifice. In this context, Sunny Deol's repeated victories are less about humiliating an adversary and more about reassuring the audience of resilience and strength. The turbaned hero also bridges tradition and modernity. While the wars depicted involve tanks, guns, and modern military strategy, the hero's values feel timeless. Loyalty, courage, brotherhood, and self-sacrifice are emphasized over technology. Sunny Deol's physical acting style reinforces this, with hand-to-hand combat and explosive gestures that feel almost mythological. He resembles an epic warrior transplanted into a 20th-century battlefield. Over the years, this image has become self-referential. Filmmakers know exactly what audiences expect from a Sunny Deol war film, and they lean into it. Iconic dialogues are delivered at maximum volume, confrontations are staged for emotional impact, and the hero's moral superiority is never in doubt. Each new film adds another layer to the imagined multiverse, another instance of the same spirit triumphing in a different narrative shell. Sunny Deol himself has often spoken about his respect for soldiers and his desire to honor their sacrifices. He has emphasized that while he plays larger-than-life roles, real bravery belongs to those who serve on actual borders. This acknowledgement is important, because it grounds the cinematic myth in real-world admiration. It is genuine. The idea of beating Pakistan thrice also reflects how audiences count emotional victories rather than historical ones. Every time Sunny Deol's character prevails, it feels like a renewal of the original 1971 triumph. The war becomes less a single historical event and more a symbolic wellspring that cinema can return to whenever national morale needs a boost. In this sense, the multiverse is not about repetition, but about remembrance. As Indian cinema evolves, with new storytelling styles and more nuanced portrayals of conflict, Sunny Deol's war films stand as monuments to a particular era of filmmaking. They are unapologetically loud, emotionally direct, and symbolically rich. The turban, the border, the roar of defiance, and the inevitable victory all combine into a formula that has proven remarkably durable. In the end, Sunny Deol's 1971 war multiverse is less about chronology and more about continuity of feeling. It is about how one actor's persona can come to embody a nation's remembered triumphs, how symbols like the turban can carry layers of meaning across films, and how audiences willingly suspend disbelief to relive the same emotional victory again and again. Beating Pakistan thrice, or even more times, becomes a shorthand for this phenomenon. A cinematic loop where the hero always arrives, always stands firm, and always, somehow, wins.